to follow the ordinance, to make sure that the ordinance was being applied properly, and make sure that the commission was equipped to do the work that was requested within the community, within the city. Those were my tasks. When I was called on October 28th to have a conversation with the city manager, I was informed that I was in error by speaking on behalf of one of our community representatives on the work that we had done together within the community. I felt it was highly appropriate for me to speak on his behalf. My misstep and my error is that I assumed that me utilizing my title was appropriate given the level and the autonomy of the administration of the Human Relations Ordinance. That's fine that I was told that that title technically belonged and is ownership of the city, and it didn't, I was not to utilize it in a public campaign process. New information to me. I take that, and I take that as feedback, as criticism of the work that I'm doing, and I don't mind taking criticism and changing the way that I work. Instead of having the opportunity to fully correct the error, I was immediately put in a disciplinary path. That's a shock for me, to be put on a disciplinary action when I had no warning or prior understanding that I was doing things that were in error. I trusted the process, and it was later in that week that there was an article put out in the Hutch Post that said that things that I didn't think were appropriate for the community for it to be reported. I thought it was highly inappropriate, and then I was never contacted about it. And that I had no recourse to say anything, because I was told not to communicate to the city employees or to the city council. Those are the two sections I was asked not to communicate to. And so I abided by those, and I was asked not to operate as an HRO. I made sure that I was very clear to not communicate as an HRO, to not communicate to the city, to not communicate to city council. Well, press release from Hutch and Harmony seemed to have been getting traction, and there were some claims in the press release that I was not completely aware of. Maybe perhaps that further agitated the conversation. That's beyond my authority. I was then contacted directly by Hutch News to respond to the allegations that were presented. At this point, I'm realizing this is more than just, hey, a slap on the wrist, hey, you did something wrong, we're gonna fix it, let's realign what you need to do and how you can operate, and we can be in partnership. It was more of a political humiliation campaign. And that's what I saw that as. I did the best that I could to try to respond to the questions I was asked with honesty, with integrity, and dignity, even though those same attitudes were not afforded to me. And so it was a little painful to see those things come out about me and to see the conversation being had. But yet still, I was encouraged to continue on. My intentions were to come to terms with whatever decision was made about how my role would be reshaped, and to get back to work and to address the reshaping of the position at that time. I was called in on November 9th. And to my understanding before I got there, the conversation was geared towards reshaping the position and setting the expectations of how the position would operate. For me, that seemed fair and reasonable. So I was willing to come to the table and have that discussion. But because I had already been experiencing some distrust with what had taken place, I wanted to be prepared to make a hard decision, to make a hard choice that if in fact this discussion on Monday was something that was further disregarding and humiliating my character and trying to, discredit my person and the work that I would do, I needed to have some assurance for myself that I'd have something to say and something I could do to protect myself. I got to the table on Monday, and to my surprise, of course, I was not at a conversation about my position. I was in a pre-disciplinary hearing. That's completely different than in a conversation about job performance and job expectations. I think any reasonable person, and I think specifically for me, coming from an HR background, anytime you go into a disciplinary hearing that's on record, anything that you say and do can be used against you. We know. This is the legal process that happens from an HR perspective. I felt attacked, perhaps maybe it's a strong word. I felt misled more than anything, and I felt there was a complete break in communication and expectation of what this discipline should have been. And so I made the decision, after reading the charges that were being launched against me, that I would no longer participate in that discussion and give credit to any of the allegations that I felt and I know were wrong. And to what end was the point of the allegations? I don't know. I still don't understand what and why it was decided for me to go into an investigation, why a hearing was created, and why some of these allegations were pulled up against me. I don't understand the justification for even going down that route. And without understanding that and not wanting to question any further, because the intention there for me was not the same as I saw it was for the city manager and HR director. And I made the decision then to just go ahead and resign my position. Resign that position, and that's where, and I know it was a hard decision to make. I know that's not the way that I think we all anticipated this to end this way, but I think it was the only way that I personally could continue to maintain dignity and self-respect, and just realizing that this was not the direction in which I hoped my career or the work of the commission would go. Even further, when I read the end of the page of the letter that was given to me, and it said that only was I in a pre-disciplinary hearing, that no decision related to the action, the disciplinary action, would even be met until after I participated in this investigation. So I had to participate in the investigation to even determine if my job was something that I felt that I could continue to do. Those are the reasons why, a lot of reasons why I decided this wasn't gonna, this was not, it wasn't something I wanted to participate in. So I made that decision, and I know I let a lot of folks down because we all had a lot of work to do. We all had a lot of things that we needed to accomplish, and a lot of work that's still out there to be done. And I saw that weekend, I think that weekend when I saw the Trump rally and the people being harassed and mistreated, and knowing I couldn't even be there to help do anything about it, and to know that even if I was there, that I wouldn't be able to affect change the way that needs to be happening, and to help people have recourse when they're treated unfairly, because that would be tied to a different expectation. To me, that it just was a sign that that I could not take this job any further, and that somebody else, I'm certain, and I trust, will be equipped, ready, willing to do the work that I couldn't do anymore. So.
Thank you to Jada, and I'm sorry. I think, you know, I can imagine that this was hard. I can't imagine how hard it was for you. Um, and we're certainly grateful for your willingness to come and share that with us. If the commissioners now have any questions or need anything clarified, I think one of the only things I want to jump into right now is, you found out that you had a meeting with the city manager on Monday, where there was a discussion on kind of, I'm not sure what the instructions were, what the expectation was when you came to that meeting. And it was our understanding that you were not offered the opportunity to finish out your 2 weeks, where we hear from Jeff, and I been given the opportunity to go listen to that recording. It feels a little too investigative for me, but that is the role of the commission, so I will listen to it.
Yeah.
But I want to know what your understanding of things were at that point.
Well, I think it was a little vague on on to complete my 2 weeks or not. But I can imagine, and I was given the opportunity to listen to the recording, and even then, just reliving that moment and sensing the agitation and the emotion that was high for me. When I decided that I wasn't going to participate any longer and that I was prepared to provide my resignation, I said very clearly, I'm providing you a 2 weeks resignation, and it's up to you if I need to fulfill the 2 weeks or not. But I'm not going to participate in this investigation, so I don't know what that. I kind of left it as, so I don't know.
Yeah, essentially giving them an opportunity for them to say.
I thought that was the window of, hey, once I get that 2 week resignation, if you want it, we do want you to complete a 2 week resignation to complete some outstanding things. I would have been happy to do that. I know there were several things that were still hanging out there that I would have loved to be able to complete and to have a clean transfer over an information session so that folks could continue.
Yeah. And the reason I asked that is especially because of that, right?
Yeah.
I've changed jobs the past year through 2 years, like 3 times, and it's always nice to finish that work. But my work was meaningless compared to the work that you are doing, where there are investigations that might be happening, where there are injustices that need to be looked at, where there is policy that's being worked on, where there is community partners that dependent on your work to continue to push forward more progress for the communities that you work for. And so for me, that was a big concern that there wasn't any time to kind of patch that out and clarify that, because I have more clarity now. But my big concern is like, okay, what the hell is the process that we are to follow now that you're not here, right? What do we do with the complaints? It took a while for us to figure that out. Who's taking care of those? What work do we need to make sure that whoever comes in and replaces you, do we need to continue? What conversation? All of that is left up in the air, right? And my goal to Jada is, and I'll address this here in a little bit, but that we continue that work. I don't want to throw the work and the passion and the skills that you provided for us away, right? I want to continue to build on that. And if there is not point of kind of a smooth transition, it just makes it so difficult. And I'm sorry that that's what happened.
Yeah.
Another question is that I have in regards to this is, do you think that we can have more policies in place so that whatever happened to you doesn't happen again? What can the commission recommend? What do you think? Because we were with the city manager just last week, and there was this two things that were happening, right? We're going to give the position a lot of latitude to go out into the community and take care of things. But at the same time, when you step over the line, which we don't know what the line is, right? It's a very gray line that you really can't see. It's an invisible line. And whenever you go over the line, we're going to suspend you for 2 weeks. So I wonder what your thoughts are in that regard. What do you think could be better for us in the future?
I've given that a lot of thought, because I think what we have here is one of the reasons that the officer, I believe, was structured in the way that it was to operate in an autonomous space that allowed for full review and fair review of all policies within the city and within the area in which the city resides. So as a regular employee beholden to a particular handbook, there is no room for a city employee to thoroughly evaluate policies from their manager and feel safe to do such. Thus, that the operations and the administration of the ordinance should be the sole focus of the HRO. The ordinance guides the work. If the ordinance becomes just an extra document on the side of a position description, then the ordinance ceases to be as effective. If we're not administering the rules and regulations and the operations of the ordinance, which clearly indicates that the HRO should evaluate and review policies that impact people in a disparaging way, that the HRO should be questioning organizational structures and ensure equity is available to all those who are a participant within that city. that is really the basis of that ordinance. And if you tell an HRO that that they can no longer review policies that impact the community, that impact the work of the city, then you are handcuffing them to fully effectuate the ordinance. And so for my concern is that that the person that comes into this role is first and foremost beholden to the ordinance number 1 in its entirety, with its powers of investigation, with its powers of subpoena processes, with its powers to call and interview those who are a part of a concerning issue. And that cannot be limited and stopped for city employees. You have to be able to protect all folks that are residents of the city of Hutchinson, and that includes city employees, and to not have the capability to impact or investigate issues because it's a city concern negates the role of the ordinance. So future wise, I just hope that whatever direction that the commission goes, that you all stay mindful that the ordinance has to be number 1. And until you decide to rewrite that ordinance, that is the guiding policy and principle of the work that has to be done in the community, in the city. I wish there was a better transition that took place. I think that there are a lot of loose ends that could have been managed and handed off properly. But at the same time, I think we've worked over the last year or so to really strengthen this commission so that they can be a force within the community, be recognized. I think the one thing that I had been asking is that the city indicate who you all are to help people know who they can go to. I think that's a key piece. People got to know you. I became the face because that was part of my job, but you all are also the face. And so that's the other future I hope that happens. But I also hope, and I also think that what's most important is that the relationship amongst community and city has got to go through a healing and even a trust rebuilding. And that's not going to happen overnight. I get that. There's a lot of things that people are, there's a lot of things, even myself, if I were to have stayed in that role, I would have felt uncertain about. And so that's going to have to happen, I think, even before an HRO can feel successful to do the work.
Thank you.
Jada, this is Rod Zook with BW Radio. First of all, thank you once again for doing this show with me a couple of months ago. I'm always going to cherish that. That was great. And pardon me?
Yeah, so I'm sorry. So right now it's the time for commissioners to ask questions. We're not necessarily allowing the press to ask questions, just to follow the format of the meeting. Although you are welcome to contact Jada if you would like to clarify something with her, and if she's comfortable with that. But we'll allow this time for commissioners to answer questions. I'm sorry.
No problem at all. I just want to say thank you. I got to step away and do the 5 o'clock news, and this is the only chance I was going to get to say thank you for all her work and everything, and thank you to you guys. So that's all, and I will let it go from there. Thanks to Jada.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rod. Appreciate you.
To Jada, this is Kristen. My phone is not working real well, so I had to turn my video off. But so I guess I just wanted to make first thing, I had a statement, and then secondly, I had a question for you. But as the members of the commissioner know, and as you know, DeJada, I did a pretty lengthy legal review last week after the special meeting, because I guess I would like to clear up to the public some of the misstatements that the city manager has made regarding First Amendment rights within the Constitution as it relates to city employees. So if there's any additional media on here or members of the public, I would encourage you, first of all, I'd be happy to send you the letter that I wrote to all council members and to the city manager as well. But I would implore you to do a little bit of your own research as it relates to private citizens, city employees, and the First Amendment, because what he said was unequivocally false, which I knew at the time, but I didn't have the exact law behind me to call it out on the special meeting. But to the commissioners who haven't had a chance to read that, I know it's lengthy. I'm not known for brevity. I apologize, but the city manager is blatantly wrong on that. Furthermore, he made statements about political campaigning and some sort of restrictions as to where somebody could campaign because you don't live in Hutchinson or in Reno County. The city can remind the commissioners we voted to ask for that specific case in case law. Again, I spent over 4 or 5 hours doing that legal research and writing that memo last week. I have not yet found any case, and I don't believe that such case exists. So again, another thing that he lied about. But with that, and his lies just pile up. I'm going to call it, if it looks like a pig, I don't know, whatever, it's a pig, I'm going to call it, right? So with that, and I've seen your discharge paperwork, and I hope you don't mind me bringing this up, but I think I'd like to have the opportunity for you to clarify and to clear your name, because I didn't personally see anything quote unquote salacious, to use a word that he used, salacious, about your discharge. And so I'm wondering if you could elaborate on what you mean and what you would interpret salacious to mean. Was there any sexual activity or something, that was just out there? I saw nothing in the report about it, but I just like to know what you mean about salacious so that you can clear up your name on that.
I appreciate that, Kristen. I think that was one of the words that probably cut the deepest, even to think that, in my mind, when somebody says salacious, it is it has a sexual connotation that I am just appalled that would be associated with me and my life and my work history and my character. Everything that I was accused of had nothing to do with personal, sexual, inappropriate, nasty behavior. Everything that was brought up on these allegations, I don't want to get too emotional about this, were circumstantial from a point of view of misunderstanding on their behalf. They believe that policy review is salacious. They believe that, and here's the other thing that I think causes a lot of question, is this ideal that I'm deleting messages and deleting records and emails. That is beyond repulsive to me, to assume that I am so distrustworthy that I would go and delete messaging so that people couldn't find my tracks. Listen, I've been in corporate America a long time. I know things don't get deleted. It doesn't even make sense for me to even attempt to do something like that. And for them to accuse me of impeding investigation by deleting communications and claiming that's salacious, or deleting or reviewing policies, if that's salacious, I don't understand what you know, there needs to be a new terminology to be used. And for me, that attack on my character, that misrepresentation of who I am to the community directly, it is vile, and it's highly inappropriate, highly uncalled for. And I feel from that very pieces alone, I deserve an apology for that behavior. I don't care if you felt from your perspective that the work that I was doing didn't line up to your expectations. Fine, I'm fine with that. But to then try to humiliate me, trying to repaint my character, that's not okay. That's not okay. And an apology is required at this point. And an apology, at least just to say you recognize that there was an error on that end, to say such words. That's the thing that fires me up. That mischaracterization of who I am really, really agitates me. And it's so unfair, because I didn't do that to anybody. I didn't. Even when you lie on me about certain things, I didn't call you salacious. And to me, that was vile.
Thank you, Jada. I agree. I thought it was vile too, and I am sorry for triggering you on that. I guess I just was hoping to clear that part of it up.
I appreciate it.
To help clear your name on that. So
appreciate
thank you for joining in. You absolutely didn't have to. I don't know that I would have had the courage to do what you're doing if I were sitting in your shoes. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Anyway, best of luck. And I thought of the phrase, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck. That's what I was going.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate that opportunity.
And I can't talk on behalf of the city, but I can tell you personally, I'm sorry that you had to endure that, because that would, the word salacious would set me off as well. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kristen. Is there another question by Commissioner? I think you are muted, ma'am.
Sorry, I'm not sure if this is going to morph into a question. I want to point out that I have sent copies of documents that verify everything that we have heard from Jada as far as what is in writing about everything that she has talked about, and I intend to put it on the record with the minutes once the minutes are submitted for this meeting. So I guess in that sense, I feel like I don't have questions for Jada, because all of those questions that I might have seem to be answered by everything that I see in writing about what has actually occurred. And what is in writing does seem to be contradicted by the statements and the explanations that were given to us by the city manager. So yeah, I don't really feel like I have questions for Jada so much as I have outrage at the city manager. I will say that we are, that we have okay, I actually thought of a question. We have acquired the city handbook, the city employee handbook, and I was looking at that. I feel like we will review that further. But my question to you, Jada, is that the city handbook, the city employee handbook that we were provided, was updated in December of 2019. So last December, the handbook was updated. You were hired in April of 2019. And if there is some question about whether you signed off on that handbook and agreed to something that was in the handbook that is being that you're being accused of not following or whatever, in the face of everything that you so eloquently said about the human relations ordinance being the guidelines by which your job is constructed. But I'm just kind of curious about why we got a handbook dated for a date after you were hired. And so did you sign for the handbook, number one, and number two, an update on that handbook? Because I'm feeling like we're going to have to request an earlier version of the handbook, maybe.
Sure.
I don't know.
So it was brought to my attention that there is a signature from me for employee policies, and
Okay.
The section which is talking about political activity, section 108, which is explicit about different actions and employee policies, were ones that were in the only handbook that I had to request from HR after I started so that I could actually review. And the reason I even requested the copy of the handbook was so that I could review how investigations were being handled within the city, so that I understood what they were doing. That was a long conversation that I had with the HR manager, but so long story short, somehow, some way, there is a signature on file that certainly looks like mine. And I won't go down this conspiracy aisle of is it mine or not, because either way, if that's the evidence that they're sticking to, that's fine. But even if you read through the handbook, there's a section on there that talks about these policies being appropriate for employee policies, not including contractual people. And so for me, I stuck to my ordinance work and not the handbook of operations. That's how I did my work. So yeah, I'm sure that there's going to be an earlier version from which I was hired in 2019 that indicates that I agreed to employee policy. And listen, I'm fine with that. If that's the direction that you want to go and say, hey, I agree to this, that's totally fine. I think there's so many steps that we're missing from, well, you agreed not to participate in political activity, to you're suspended for all of these other behaviors that we're now finding and digging up on you.
Jada, I have to interject though. I mean, yes, what you did, and you said, I think to quote, you said it was a misstep, and your misstep was being in Representative Probst. You acknowledge that, we all acknowledge it, that was fine. But to say that you could not be politically active as a private citizen, I reviewed the handbook last night, and as I told Natasha last night, there's nothing in there that prohibits you from doing that, or any other city employee, as long as you're not on the clock and you're not doing it as your official position and you're not wearing city clothing. That's the only things that prohibit political talk as a city employee. Why? Because it would be unconstitutional for them to prohibit it. Period. Yeah. Period.
Good point, Kristen. Good point. And see, I could have good point.
And I think, like you point out to Jada, if there was a mistake because you used your name or your title in that video, it was taken down and it could have been called into, hey, maybe don't do this again, right? Which I think it's an important, that was my conversation with Jeff when we were all here and I keep going back to this, the latitude that you are given And if you make a mistake, then hopefully it's a conversation, it's a feedback time, rather than we're going to suspend you for after the election,
Right.
which seems unfair to me.
And to that point, to be honest with you, to that point, it was indicative that it was more politically motivated than it was employee management. So when you tell me that the suspension, and I say, okay, when and how, what does this mean? How long do I stay out? Oh, and you missing a beat. When is the election? Next Tuesday. Well, until after the election. To me, that then becomes, this is a political motivated decision. This is not about managing employee sufficiencies and ensuring that employees are adhering to policy and guidelines. This is about politics that have, that should, okay, if it has no place in management decision, if it has no place in employee activity, then it should have no place in a management decision, is what I'm saying. But it did. And so that's just the contradictory of the actions. It just could have been handled differently.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Jada, for speaking and for taking the time. We've always supported you as the commissioners, and we were always so excited to work with you. And so this is hard for all of us, as I said already. I don't know what decisions you'll make as far as litigation, as far as, taking things to figure out what happened and to make sure that you were, if there was wrongdoing, that's brought to justice, right? I don't know what other organizations in the community, partner organizations, are planning to continue to do about this. I know that the commission, the way I understand it as a role, is recommending policy to our city council and helping the investigations that the officer is doing. And part of that is education and all of that. And so we're kind of at a weird point where we can't do any investigations, right, of what happens at the city level, which seems a bit confusing to me. And so then I go back to, so what role do we play? And I think the most important role is allowing you to tell your story and allowing you to help us understand what happened, because the work of the officer is crucial to what we can do as a commission, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, if there's no more questions, we can move to the next slide.
I'd like to just kind of follow up on what you were just saying, Dave. And that is that I think that because we have documentation of the misstatements of the city manager, the contradictions that have been exposed with regard to not only the kind of misrepresentation of the city employee handbook, but also the ways that the human relations officer role is supposed to be constructed, that has been exposed at this point. And I think that one thing that the commission can do is just put that on full display for the community to the best of our ability. If we are restricted from by the city from investigating the city, so to speak, so be it. But there's nothing to stop us from putting them on blast with what we do have, and I guess that's kind of all I have to say on that.
Yeah, and I think, Jada, if you have to include whatever you have, or I'm sorry, Natasha, to include the documents that you had on the minutes, to have them on the record.
Right.
I'm trying to understand that. Would we have to take a vote as a commission to include those on the, I don't know that we're allowed to keep those on the record without the vote. I'm not sure what your understanding of that is.
I bet you can incorporate them into the minutes, Dave, but Natasha, I just want to make sure that because Jada gave them to you, she's okay with us doing so. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. At this point, you know, I don't have a legal action that's pending. Me. These are documents that, you know, they're personally given to me, and I'm personally giving to you. And if you all want to use them to help ensure that the process for the next HRO is protected, I think that's very much so your prerogative to do so with. I don't have any plans to pursue this action. I mean, I think at this point, there's clarity for me. There's clarity for me, and I just want to ensure that you all have some as well. I want to help you all make sure you're able to continue to do the work. I don't want to impede that, but also at the same time, you know, this is just going to be a battle that's going to be part of the effort to ensure that the safety of the commission is maintained.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think you sent those documents earlier via email, correct, Natasha?
Yes, and I will describe for the point of the whatever recording or minutes what they.
I just want to ask the commissioners if they've had a chance to take a look at them.
Yeah, I sent them in an email earlier today to the commissioners.
Right. I just want to make sure that they've had a chance. I have a hard time. I am a nerd about procedural, like
Okay.
in congressional hearings. And my understanding, usually what happens there is when a member of the committee asks for something to be included in the record, it has to just be approved by the body, and the commissioners have to be aware of what the document is, have to have a chance to read that. So I just want to make sure if it's included as evidence, I just want to make sure that everyone has had a time to look at them to know what we're including.
So
I just want to double check with everyone. Have we all had a time to, and are we okay with including those in the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. If not, you could make a motion to call on a vote, but I don't think that would be necessary. Okay, we can include those on the record, Natasha. Without objection.
okay, yeah, I'm seeing a note from our lawyer in residence about the procedure on that. Incorporate into minutes. Investigation report is attached here too and incorporated by reference.
Right. Yeah. I mean, right. If you reference them, but if
right,
they
and we have referenced these documents through the course of this meeting. So I'm just going to say that what I have is a notation of the content of a text message that I had with Jada, where she told me that the only terms that she had with regard to communication with people were to not contact city staff or city council. And it's dated on the 3rd of November. The next one that I have is a text message from the city manager to Jada where he states that we are working on performance agreement that we intend to present Monday. Are you available on Monday afternoon to meet? And they set that meeting up. He calls it a performance agreement. Then I've got the document that he gave her at that meeting on Monday, which is called Review of Evidence and Pre-Disciplinary Hearing. And it lists out 5 violations that he, like findings that he has, that the JADA has spoken about in this meeting, that has been talked about some different times as we have, gotten wind of what these supposed violations were. So I will submit that into that record. I have a copy of her resignation letter, beautifully written, I might add, and thank you so much to JADA for the wonderful words that you speak in this long resignation letter. But it does indicate offering a 2-week resignation, and then also have a document that shows the signatures of her employment agreement. So yeah, I feel like I had one other comment on this, and now I kind of lost it. Anyway, yes, we have it. We have the material, and we can include it with the minutes.
Awesome. Okay.
Oh, my comment was that I do have some redactions on the on the documents, just for personal information, email addresses, or any of JADA's personal information that may have been included on any of this material. So there are some redactions, but they're not redactions of the text of anything.
Okay, I think then here we have on the agenda to move to approval of minutes, but I wanted to move the chair comments before, because I think it's just kind of awkward to just move from this to approve the minutes of the last meeting. So if that's okay, I'll go ahead and do that now, if no one has any more comments.
I can just share briefly, and if it's okay for me to exit after this, that's fine. So you guys can continue on unless you need me to stick around.
Oh, let me just say a few things to JADA. I want you to stick around.
Okay.
I just wanted to take some time to reflect, kind of on what has happened over the past few weeks, and I'm sure many of you had the same feelings and reactions to everything that has happened. JADA and I met back in February because Clean nicely had recommended me to the commission when I first met JADA at Scuttlebutts. I knew that even if I didn't end up sitting on the commission, I would definitely try to continue to work with her in one way or another. I knew she was incredibly skilled. I knew she had a good character, and I knew she was a change maker. This was only reinforced as I continued to work with JADA. JADA, you're incredible, and I am so sorry that all this has happened to you. I hope that you know that our community is incredibly grateful for your work. You've opened so many doors for folks who would normally stay quiet when facing discrimination in our community. You've helped facilitate discussion between residents and key leaders and officials from our community. And it's always good when leaders can be a voice for folks who seek justice and change. But you didn't just become a voice for us. You gave us a voice and the confidence to use it. You've educated us, you challenged us, not just the commission, but many people in Hutchinson. I hope that by becoming a chair of this commission, I would take more of a facilitator role. And I still hope that. But this moment calls for something more this moment calls for me to ask us all as commissioners, as community leaders, and partner organizations, what can we do from here on? How can we make sure that while we demand accountability and transparency, we continue to build on the incredible progress that you've made, Jada? I am a big fan of President Barack Obama, and I often find myself going back to his words and his writings. And he always says that pessimism is a choice. We could sit here and believe that things will never change and that this is just another example of the many challenges that happen to people that we represent all the time. We can throw stones at City Hall and set it on fire, not literally. We can point fingers, we can be angry, we can be sad, and I think that's okay. But it's what we do with that anger, it's what we do with all these emotions, with this rage, that will create change.
Yeah.
Cynicism is a choice, Barack Obama says. Hope is a choice too. Today we can be hopeful for the Jada, we can be hopeful for our community, and we can be hopeful for the progress we could create if we choose to channel all this energy into change. I hope that if there is wrongdoing by the city, that is brought to light and our community holds folks accountable. I hope that partner organizations like NAACP and Hatching Harmony continue to do what they've always done, bring all of this to justice. And I hope that we as commissioners can not only look to what has happened, but what will happen. Do we want to create policy? Do we want to continue to educate? Do we want to continue to give power to folks in our community? Let's dig deep right now and give our best for our community and make the Jada proud.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
So thank you to Jada. We're so proud to know you and to have worked with you.
I'm so proud to have known you all, and I hope that our paths continue to cross no matter where we are. Keep doing the good work, keep the good fight going, and be encouraged. I'm a phone call away, so always feel free to pick it up or email me or message me. I'm happy to respond. I appreciate all of you so very much. Thank you for what you've done and what you will do. I know you're going to make Hutchinson great.
Thank you, friend.
So to Jada, I finally realized how to convey this over Zoom. So pretend like this Elmo is you.
Oh, hugs. Oh, don't cry.
And you know how I feel about you.
Thanks, Jesse.
All right.
Appreciate that, dear.
Oh.
I just
Dave,
gotta say something too. Jada, thank you. For a person like me who's never had really a lot of faith in our city government, you gave me hope. You gave me a way to use my voice. I knew I had a voice. I've never been shy of using it, but you gave me more of a platform and a way to be taken more serious. You made people in Hutchinson, in the disability community, feel like they were, part of our community. So I just want to thank you for that. And just know we will continue to get into good trouble. Thank you.
Thank you. That's awesome.
If I could take just a second, and I won't take up much time, I just want to say that I am extremely saddened that I will not get to work with you more. From the very first time I met you in person, your energy just radiated from you, and I was so excited and so amped up to do this work, as you say. And I will continue to be a part, but it is really hard to see what you've gone through and that you will no longer be a part. But I genuinely hope that you will stay in touch. And it's just like I said to you before, this is not where your story ends. I'm not even worried about that, but I am saddened that I won't get to know you more through the commission.
Thank you, Geraldine. Oh, so great to hear your voice. Oh man, guys.
Okay, I was interrupting. This is Natasha. I'm interrupting to ask Dave. It sort of looked like that you might have prepared those statements that you made. And if so, may I enter those into the record along with the minutes, please, as another?
No, you can't. I'm kidding. Yes, you can.
Thank you. And I'm not gonna make a speech for you, Jada.
Love you.
You already know. Yeah.
Your kids, Natasha. I hope you caught it.
No.
Thank you, Jada.
Thank you guys so
move on
much.
to the next item on the agenda. You're welcome to stay, but you don't.
I'm happy to leave.
I don't want you to feel like you have to, but I understand, and I hope there's healing for you and for all of us.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate all of you. Again, contact me anytime if you need my information. You've got it. If I'm happy to be here for you. But I appreciate all of you. Thank you so very much. Until we meet again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Best of luck.
All right.
Hey, Dave. Sarah just left, or Sarah just commented, and I meant to do this early on in the meeting when we were, I don't know that we voted to approve the minutes, but the minutes from the last meeting, Sarah's name was misspelled as Blakely instead of Blake.
Ah, thank you. So I moved the chair comments to the approval of minutes. I asked if it was okay with everyone, just because I didn't want to transition to the next items and just.
Oh, that makes sense. I just thought maybe I missed it, and I meant to tell you that. So
Yeah. So
if I'm too soon, I can wait.
No, you're good. Actually, we'll move to the next item, which is the approval of minutes. And we have 3 minutes to approve. It will be the minutes from October 21st, which I believe was a regularly scheduled meeting. Is that correct? And then we have a meeting on the 29th, which was an emergency meeting called on by me. And then a meeting on the 10th, which is also an emergency meeting called on by the chair, and the city manager was present. I know that there were some comments made by Anthony of changing the celebration.
On the notes from the October 21st meeting, on the commissioner reports, there's one that I put. It says, the paper says National Disability Job Sharing Day, and it should say National Disability Mentoring Day.
So if Natasha can make those changes.
Let me make sure I have it right, Anthony. So change job sharing to job
Mentoring.
sharing?
Yeah, to Disability Mentoring Day.
Okay. If those were the only changes that people caught, with the assurance that I will make those changes in the minutes, can we go ahead and take a vote to approve all 3 sets of those minutes?
Are you making a motion?
I make the motion to approve with the changes.
And I have a second from Armstrong.
I second.
We'll take a vote. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes for the last 3 meetings. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, I think it's unanimous. So we'll move to the next item with the approval of all of those meetings. New businesses. The next item. Usually, Jada gave us an HRO report on our regularly scheduled meetings. And I apologize, I put gum in my mouth. I've been doing a lot of talking, so I needed something in there. Usually we have comments by the JDA on a report. I've asked the city manager to provide just a small report of what's been done or actions that have been taken as far as complaint goes. There has been no complaints since the last time I talked to him, which was November 9th, about this. So, and he assured me that those are still being referred to, the state agency that would take care of those normally. So I think it's the State Human Relations Commission. On another note, he did provide, as I gave all of you, the employee handbook that we had voted on. He also, we voted to have me listen to the recordings. I wish it would have happened today, but our times are conflicting, so I will take a listen to those tomorrow. Although I think that we've been clarified just from the comments of the JDA, I still will take a listen just to honor the request of the commission, and I'll inform you of what I learned at our next meeting. The last thing that we had voted on the last commission that I want to make sure that I address with all of you was that we had asked for the case law of that. And I don't want to make this a big deal, but I want to read his response to that. After receiving Armstrong's letter, I discussed the matter with our city attorney to make sure that there weren't any landmark Supreme Court cases to comport with the direction of her brief. Can you hear me? I'm unstable over here. Okay, no problems, no issues?
No, it was for me, it was like you were in fast motion.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll repeat those. After receiving Armstrong's letter, I discussed the matter with our city attorney to make sure that there are any landmark Supreme Court cases to comport with the direction of her brief, where Armstrong's retort was compelling enough to curry favor with those that might be aggrieved. It didn't provide the reader with a balanced glimpse of prevailing case law that would succinctly apply to this situation. After meeting with the city attorney, I believe the best approach to this, owing to the fact that one board member is an attorney without censure and will likely to continue to challenge to legal premise of anything offered, we will merely mention other cases and opinions that might exist with the AG as well as statutes. So I got no.
Because he's wrong. It's because he's wrong. It's because he's wrong.
So I think I was kind of conflicted on how to share this because I got this right after that meeting, and I'm sure emotions were high for everyone, and I don't want to justify his response for him. But if I think what he's doing is referring anything to the AG's office, if we were to ask that question. And I don't know that we could take any other actions as a commission to get that case law other than voting again, which we did. We can't force the city attorney or
Did you say that he was going to hand over citations? He said, aside from just telling you the citations.
We will likely continue to, we merely mention other cases and opinions that might exist.
So tell me what they are.
I don't know. That's all I have. So,
well, I'd like to know what they are. And first of all, I sent that letter as an individual, a private citizen, not as a member of the commission. So I'll follow up with him on that personally. But it sounds to me like he's willing to give us the cases that he's relying on. But I'm here to tell you they ain't there. He's wrong.
Okay.
But he can do whatever he wants with the Attorney General's office, but he's wrong.
Okay. So what I'll do, Kristen, just to make sure that I follow up as well as a commission, I will ask for those when I meet with him on when I go listen to the recordings, if that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. Because I mean, it sounds like he's willing to give at least the citations. I don't need his analysis of them.
Okay.
I can do my own analysis.
Gotcha. And I
I have a request because he did respond to our request. Could you please send that response to me so that I can enter that into the minutes as the response that we got about that request?
absolutely, I can do that.
All right.
I'll send you that text. Okay. So with that, I'll move to the next item, which is the next steps under new business. I don't want to make any decisions today, but I want us to think about, as we, one, learn of the process that's going to take to hire a new person. And it's my understanding that he'll recommend 2 commissioners to sit on that committee. I want us to wait for that process and see how it plays out. And also that if there are 2 members of the commission, that we inform the commission as a whole of what that process is as soon as we know it, if that's okay with everyone. But then I also want us to think deeply about what are some of the things that we can do in the future to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Now, the only thing we can do as a commission is to recommend policy for the city, for the governing body to take. But other than that, I want to make sure that we have those conversations with Jeff to make sure that I think we all have issues. We take issue with the latitude expressed and the kind of the contradiction between those two. And maybe a better process of giving feedback back to the officer in case they go overstep their latitude. Does that make sense? Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Any comments you'd like to make on that regard before we move to the next item?
Are you suggesting putting together some sort of a document, letter, recommendation regarding that matter?
Yeah, I think I'm suggesting right now, just from what we learned, I think it'll be important for us to reflect on the Jada's comments that she had at the beginning of the meeting about what we can do to better that process. I think it'll be important for us. I don't think that I am ready to suggest any policy or any possible steps for that process to happen. But I am suggesting that you think about it, you reflect on it, and then next time we meet, we put that as an item on the agenda of what our thoughts are for that process to be bettered. Okay, and Kristen, I see that you nominate our chair and former chair to be on that committee, and add a recommendation that HIH, NAACP, and HCF have representative as well on that committee. I think that we can certainly, I hope that we don't have to vote and that that's true, that all of those names and organizations are included in that process. But it's my understanding that they'll follow precedent. And Natasha, you're familiar with that. Who do they include usually on that committee?
So Dejada did mention that, and most of the, as far as the list that you put out there, Kristen, in the chat box, those were folks who were in that, on that interview process. I don't think that we had Hutch and Harmony but we had a representative, the NAACP president was there. I think the new ones that we would be recommending would be Hutch and Harmony because of their emergence as a very strong community advocate at this point, and also the Community Foundation because of the ways that they have been extremely supportive of the Human Relations Ordinance and Officer at this point.
And they are funding the position too.
What's that?
And they are funding the position as well.
The funding, exactly. That's exactly what I was just getting to.
Part of it.
Technically, the education and outreach dollars, yeah.
Right, but I think that having recommending someone from HCF be part of that process as well. That seems fair to me. Can we? I'm thinking about the subcommittee kind of groups that we had. Can we make sure that we've got at least a couple people working here over the next week or two on the kinds of considerations that you're talking about with regard to creating recommendation.
Yeah, I think that'd be appropriate. The reason I didn't mention anything about committees is that it was crucial to have the officer to kind of, I can only do so much and you can only do so much to manage that process of those committees. But I think it would be appropriate for I think we have a policy committee. Is that right?
It's me and Kristen.
Yeah. So, and I would encourage others to also join that committee to think deep about maybe some possible ways in which we can alleviate this process. But if you want to call on a meeting, Natasha, for that commission, please do. Or for that committee, sorry.
Okay. So Kristen, as the two of us are this policy subcommittee, and so maybe we do here in the next week or so call a subcommittee meeting and see if we can't hash some of the wording out, some of the ideas that we're going to be considering, looking over this material that I will get minutes out as quickly as I can to all of you, and all of the addendums that will be on there and so forth. Yeah, we can come up with some recommendations.
Okay. All right. Anything else on that item? Okay, we'll go ahead and move to communications and comments by commissioners. We've had a lot of time to do some of that, so I encourage you to keep those brief. But please take this time, 3 to 5 minutes if possible, to address. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us tonight. She just sent a message that she's heading out. Thank you for joining us. So commissioner comments now. And the floor is open. Okay, hearing that there are none, we'll go ahead and move to adjourn the meeting unless there are any remaining questions.
I have something.
Okay. I was waiting for it.
I know. Sorry, I was writing.
I'm glad. Please.
Real quick comment. And I see that, okay, Jesse is still in this meeting. And the reason that I'm calling Jesse's name is that I know, Jesse, that you were in attendance at a, let's see, Kansas Leadership Council sponsored meeting with KMUW last night on the StoryCorps and One Step at a Time, if I'm getting the name of the program right. And it's rattling around in my brain that what they are doing that will really have national ramifications. They're starting in Kansas as the model for the healing that needs to occur, not just around here, but in the country. And so I'm just kind of thinking that it may behoove us to reach out to the organizers of that program and see if we can't get, you know, we don't have to recreate the wheel. In other words, we can perhaps find a way to get in on that program and contribute to it in some kind of way as the Human Relations Commission for Hutchinson, Kansas. So I'm just throwing that out there. Jesse, I know you've got some kind of connection there, and I do too. And so maybe the two of us can talk about maybe reaching out and seeing if it would be possible for the commission to contribute to that effort of creating dialogue between people with differing views. And
I'm sure we'll be able to participate in theirs, but you know, in the long run, outreach too. I mean, it'd be nice if we could actually facilitate that to the extent in our own context here in Hutchinson, and you know, something we could still look at in the future because, you know, I think we're always thinking of we're talking about our outreach programs and stuff. So having a talk like that, which the next meeting, or you know, if we talk to the other commissioners individually, we can turn them on to what that's about, and you know, at another meeting, or you know, I could talk to Anthony about it. And we can all talk to each other, and we'll show you what that context of that is. Basically, it's two people with opposing sides, giving them a chance to meet and talk to each other, and just find out, you know, find out that there maybe not be so much a difference between us than what these two people actually thought, kind of thing. But we can show you the details and send you, well, actually, I'll send an email out with a link to that to everybody. But then
that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be great. And yeah, my thought on that is, you know, it would fall within the purview of the kind of outreach that the commission would be interested in doing, and it's a way of doing it that we don't have to recreate the wheel. And there's an existing program that is being promoted for here in Kansas and nationally as a model. And I think it would be in real fine keeping with what we're doing here in Hutchinson, because Hutchinson really is seen as a model with regard to the work around the Human Relations Ordinance that we have, the struggle that was ordinance. I've talked to different people in the state who do see Hutchinson as a model. And I think that I've heard other people talk about, you know, having national contacts where that has been indicated. I know that I talked with someone in DC in a civil rights office there, and they were like, what's happened there? And you guys need to keep doing what you're doing because you got it going on, and like what you're doing is a model for the rest of us. So I think that we shouldn't sell ourselves short, and that we can have every expectation that our work be you know, seen as having some kind of standing, and that we can have an expectation that, you know, that we would be responded to well by, say, for instance, the what's it called again, Jesse? One Step at a Time. Am I saying the name of that program right?
Close enough.
Okay, because there's StoryCorps, and then there's this other program that's One Step at a Time. I think that's what it's called. But anyway, so yeah, that particular program, like, it requires training for the facilitators and so forth. They've got it kind of down pat, is what it sounded like to me, and it's pretty impressive. Anyway, thanks, Jesse, for saying that you would send out the link on that. That's great.
All righty. Well, look at us. I thought this was going to go way longer. Thank you guys. I appreciate the support and the help, and we don't have an officer. And so a lot of the things that we usually go to the Jada for, she's not there. So I think it will be helpful if we help each other and communicate with each other, just like we've always done. I am sorry that at times I may not be as attentive to communications or text or email. I am swamped, and there's a lot going on in my life. And so I'm trying my best, but I will encourage you to bug me until I respond to you. Don't be afraid. I don't get annoyed. In fact, I'm grateful that you bug me because I really want to respond to you and make sure that we are taking care of things. So with that being said, we'll move to adjourn the meeting if I have a motion.
All motion.
Okay, I have a motion to adjourn the meeting and to meet again on December 16 of 2020.
I'll second.
Okay, who's that second?
Tammy.
Oh, Tammy, hello.
Hello.
Welcome. Tammy, we have not met in person yet.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
I know, me too. So I have a second to adjourn the meeting.
Change the call.
Yeah, please change the roll call. We'll take a vote. I'll just do a roll call vote to help Natasha. Dixon. Smith.
Here.
It's a vote, so it'll be yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Yes.
it's okay. Just wanted to make sure. Russell Iverson.
Yes.
Frischenmeyer.
Yes.
Kauser.
Yes.
Juma.
Yes.
Grissom. Armstrong.
Are we voting on adjournment?
Yes, me.
Okay, yes.
And Sotelo Hogan. Yes. All right. It passes unanimously. We'll adjourn the meeting. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Oh, happy
Thanks, everybody.
Thanksgiving. I forgot.
Thanksgiving.
Stay
What?
safe. Don't gather too much. Wear a mask.
Done.
Yeah. Yeah, we're staying home. We're again making chili and cinnamon buns.
Yum. I made
Yum.
chili last
I'm
night.
coming to your house. Wait, never mind.
You're not invited.
Leave it on the porch for me.
Thank you. All right, Natasha, do you want to save the chat just to have that as a record
Yes, I probably need to do that now, right?
before I close the
Okay,
meeting?
how did I do that last time? Oh, shoot, let's see. File.
You click on file, I think.
Yep, I'm getting there. Okay, and this is chat. Hold on, it didn't take it.
That's okay.
Okay, let me try that again. Click on file. It's putting it on my computer. Going to desktop. Oh, I'm not looking for it.
Hey, Natasha.
Yeah,
Do you have the three dots right next to the thing that says file?
yeah.
Yeah, just hit that and it says save chat.
Oh, okay. I was actually hitting where it said file. Okay.
Me too.
Okay. Okay, show in folder. Where is it? Okay, here it is. Because I want to put it on the desktop.
Probably right-click, copy, and then paste on your desktop.
Yeah, except I need to rename it. Darn it. Oh,